building a digital future together. Best practices for creating a digital ecosystem.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our first panel for today. We're going to be covering the best practices for creating a digital ecosystem. And we have amazing speakers with us, Mr. Maher Al Kaabi, Mr. Qasim, and Mr. Sam. And I would like you to take like a quick 20 seconds to introduce yourselves, so I won't miss out on anything. So Mr. Maher, please start.
Sure. Thank you very much. I sit as a board of directors in a lot of companies. I sit also at a Circle group of companies, which is a 160 years old family office and business. I also sit on the Circle Economy Council, which is headed by Minister of Climate Change and vice chaired by Minister of Economy. I also sit as a chairman of Board of School, which is part of ISB School, where we have about 60,000 children, both locally, regionally, internationally, and various boards and other companies as well.
Pleasure having you with us. Mr. Qasim Laham.
Thank you very much. So I'm a banker since more than 35 years between Germany, Switzerland, and the UAE. And the last 3 years, I'm in banking consulting, advising high net worth individuals and banks and financial institutions, along also international technology companies and startups.
Pleasure having you with us. Mr. Sam Katyalla.
So we are here since 24 years, and we run our company since actually 29 years. We're going to have end of the year the 30 years anniversary, and we develop intellectual properties, IPs, and concepts and strategies for the governments and authorities here and in the region, and set actually standards and trends in businesses before the world knows about it. So we work very closely on the top of the pyramid with the governments and create initiatives which will actually mark the way for the future.
We technically know, and based on what we have discussed together on our call, is a digital ecosystem is created by leaders or professionals in this field. And I want to dive today into explaining first what is a digital ecosystem and how does it play a role in our changes that we are seeing today. Maybe we can start with Mr. Maher.
Sure. I think let's go back, as we were discussing before the panel. I mean, things do not happen overnight. So it's a long journey that you need to go through to understand how ecosystem can be developed for becoming a digital. So if you go back to 1995, when it's Hana Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, when he was not even a ruler of Dubai at that point of time, he actually launched e-government. He said, like, we want all the government service to be on e. And I still vividly remember when he called his N-1, 2, and 3 in the what he called Jumeirah Beach Hotel, where he announced that this is how the government going to be transforming. So the seed started from there. And after connecting all the governments over the 5 years journey into e-government, then the next phase was launched in terms of developing Smart Dubai. And after Smart Dubai, we had a 3X escalator, then a 10X, which happened twice. And now we're talking about to be one of the smartest city, the top 3 globally. For you to do that, you need to have a clear national agenda, UAE agenda. So if you go back to the website of UAE, you'll see there's a clear strategy how the government gonna transform and become very digital in all the services they offer. So adopting anything it can take, listen to AI, blockchain, Web3, Metaverse, all these things are embedded together. So the agenda has very clear cuts for every single platform, every single journey, by when will they do it, how do you bring the talent to make it happen, how do you make sure you entice the talent to come over and make it simpler for them to open businesses. We all remember in 2022 when the IFC Launchpad was launched, it was with the objective to bring venture studios. Now, venture studios is another concept completely, which we can delve in a bit. It's to make sure how we can start companies into the digital form of it. And how do we make sure from the 20 companies that we have, we'll have 200 companies coming up, 10 will become scale up, and 10 will become unicorn on the phase of 5 years' time. Mind you, within the 5 years' time, that's a long horizon, but this is how you plan. Within the first year itself, and instead of doing it 5 years, we had 280 companies being established over there. Now, the government services that we see today, how do we make sure they also transform? How do you reskill the force you have? How do you upskill them? How do you continuous learning? That's why Dubai Next Gen was launched in terms of attracting talent and also making sure the Emirati talent as well are there. So we have a plan about 100,000 Emirati talent by 2025. They need to be good coders, and blockchain and Web3 and so forth. So for you to develop an ecosystem, you have to have a very clear plan and a vision to make that happen.
Okay, and we have seen that Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum also announced that AI is going to become one of the biggest things up to 2031, which is going to be involving a lot of different talents on boards. Blockchain, we hear a lot of about this blockchain, cryptos, and everything going around. How can blockchain technology enhance trust? And how can it also show transparency in this digital ecosystem world?
I think in this system, we have to see that blockchain is a part of many other parts. Without blockchain, will completely disrupt the traditional banking we know. When I started banking in 1987, we started with a typical typing machine and the phones where we just drove. Today, we have a different way of digital banking, which is in the middle stage. We did not see the end. And this all will combine security, cybersecurity, neobanks. We come into a new age of banking, which will be combining traditional banking we know from commodity trading to equity trading. And blockchain is something which will give us the security and the safety to bank in a way which is, on the long term, more than safe.
Okay. Do you think, in general, the strategies are, again, we go back to you, it's employed to actually embrace and succeed within the UAE ecosystem? Yani, is this going to be the future, in a way, when it comes to fintech or banking in general? And is there any securities that we need to take on board? Because you know better than me in this.
Yes, I think Dubai has started already with VARA, which is the virtual asset regulatory body in the UAE, to start preparing for digital assets, to start regulating it in a way that you have still the freedom of moving digital assets, funds around between A and B. And I think UAE has always seen longer than short-term businesses. And if I look back, Mr. Kaabi said, a couple of minutes before, we have virtual rooms where we can see in the future how this will be developed when we have this or that strategy in place. And this is an amazing way we have placed in this country to simulate businesses.
Okay. Mr. Sam, hello. Since you work a lot with governments, okay, how does collaboration between the government and private sector contribute to harnessing this UAE ecosystem? I think it moves also with what Mr. Maher said.
Yeah. We are being asked by the government just to actually mainstream the transition we are in. So we're talking about the new world's economy. So I'm happy, by the way, for the full house audience, so we get the vibration as well from the market, because what's happening in the world is now we are creating complete new language models. The way of how we used to do business is not anymore existing. So, and the giga brands as we know them, the Huawei, the Samsungs of the world, the iPhones, they are actually hunting for AI developers to actually complement and added value to their own intelligent tools they have. Because, you know, in these days, it's not anymore that the people will look for the product finds the people. So, and the transition of mindset is a movement which now we're experiencing happen once in 100 years or even more. So we are actually in the middle of the key point of the new invention of internet, flying, mobility, anything on the same time. And that transition is scaring a lot of people, but it's giving opportunities like second to none. And we are living in one of the part of the world where decision making is being done within a millisecond, where the old school governmental leadership, like in Europe, without saying they're good or bad, they're just different, they're gonna left behind. For example, Germany, where I grew up with, they're driving 400 kilometers per hour in a car towards a wall with no brakes. That is almost every country in the Western world which are related to the old school democracy leadership. When you have countries like in the UAE, Saudi, whatever, you need to see numbers. In Europe, for example, there live 400 million people. The Arab-speaking world, 42 countries, 400 million people. So the GPT of Europe is around $19 trillion. GPT of the Arab-speaking world is $6 trillion. Out of 5 trillion, gas and oil. So we are left only with 1 trillion. So we are still sleeping. Means this big powerhouse, where 70% are below 28 years, are just waking up. And they're getting mobilized by their governments on a level that they get kicked ass, sorry for my language, if they don't comply. That means this is an initiative where smart people in combination with wise leadership finds a unique opportunity like never ever could happen here or anywhere in the world again, because here they understood on the right way of how to push this movement. So the new world's economy are relying on 3 mega trends, which is sustainability, health, and digitalization. All will be interacting, some people call it IoT or whatever. But the giga brands I mentioned before, the Samsungs of the world, they cannot anymore eat companies. They need communities, ecosystem to complement and add value to maintain their smart tools to stay intelligent. Otherwise, today a 5-man company could become $1 billion valuation institution or organization. So that is not heard of. So AI, new language models, empower you on a completely different understanding. And these giga brands are aware of it, but the governments here, which actually run their countries like businesses, realize it. And that is actually the platforms which almost every emirate and the whole region is putting on the table. That's why people say Saudi Arabia is a competition. I said, no, guys, it's a complementing access to a new market. Yes, short-term, maybe competition. Mid-term, long-term, we need those markets to completely grow in a manner, because Dubai will grow with it, Abu Dhabi will grow with it, the whole region will grow with it, because it's not about money. Money is only a tool of the system. We are talking about opportunities. And the future of money is conscious wealth, is knowledge.
But
and that is where you can win the race.
Sorry to interrupt, but speaking of this, how do they actually move this vision to make it a reality? Do they adopt these talents from abroad to actually make it happen? I mean,
the question to me or?
Mr. Maher also? I mean, anyone who'd like to answer?
No, I would say one word. They empowered local talents. They're bringing new talents from abroad, unite them, and that is all the key word. Unity is the key word. If you do it alone, you run fast.
Yeah.
If you do it in a united manner, you run longer.
Longer, yeah.
Simple as that. And this is where Maher works for the government, actually put in place to empower this movement.
Yeah. I think if you look at what makes us different, the Arab region, 2 things. The vision and execution of the visions.
Yes.
In any corporation, if you can have a lot of nice visions, but if you don't have the execution power, then you don't do it. As Sam was alluding to, we run UAE and Dubai as a corporation. His Highnesses run really the city as corporation. They could also pocket the money, and the country would be a completely different than many countries globally aware. But they wanted to make sure that they give back to the country and to the people over there. Keeping that thing in mind, which is very important, how do we make sure our people flourish along with the economy? That was very important. So everything has done. I'll give you a very simple example, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it tells you the level of the thinking and the thought process goes with the government. When COVID happens, we had a certain period, and we call it among ourselves a lockdown period for about three weeks, correct? The government never called it the lockdown period. They called it disinfection period. Psychology. So that tells you that there's somebody top of there as a committee thinking thoroughly how the messages should go through as well. So to make sure we thrive, the vision has to be very clear. I was asked to come and talk in Saudi back in April 2019. How do we copy Dubai? How do we copy Dubai? And by the government. So I told them very openly, and it's on YouTube, by the way, I said, look, first of all, you need to create alignment from the leaders and all the people working together. And how you get to know that thing, the moment I enter your airport, I get to know whether the messages on top have been transcribed all the way on the down or not. So if you're able to reach this continuous alignment loop, then you are on the path of making it happen.
It's amazing. Mr. Qasim, we were speaking also about sustainability, and we know that we finished COP28 last year, and it was all about that. When we have been discussing online about what we need to tap into is the sustainable business, and what are the practices to promote the environment responsibility when it comes to that?
I think it's very important that, as we all said, we need young talents, either to build it in the country or to get the good talents outside into the country. And I think also Dubai has done a lot of efforts with golden visa programs to different special programs to get these talents on board. And if I see all these young talents not only on such events, it's really coming more and more. And I think today I'm a board member of a couple of startups in the country, and I see those talents beat by far anything I have seen in Europe or in the US. So we have really very much specialists in the country, and I'm not worried we will reach that target.
The thing is,
May I add on that?
Sure, yeah.
I sit on the Circular Economy Council, as I mentioned earlier. So we were working on 22 sustainable policies for the country as we speak. Last year, we issued 5 policies. We're still working on 17 of them. All the 5 policies we issued, we did not issue it in the ivory tower. We engaged all the private sectors through a workshop or through a draft being sent to them, for us together think what should be the right way of doing it. And we were also, as a group where as I sit as the independent board member, we actually sent quite a lot of draft from ourselves, saying that this is how we believe the policy should look like, and they actually went with those policies, so we're aware of them. So there is a lot of collaboration happening between the government and the private sectors and the academia. So we're bringing academia as well to do the R&D for us. So make sure that whenever we actually launch something, it is not really breaking the private sector, so it's conducive to do this kind of thing. So this is how the sustainability work is going through. There is a lot of cliche that the Western world is following and pushing on the 1.5. You know, if we don't reduce it by 2050, something going to happen. I keep on saying on my panel discussion keynote, and I was saying this to our ex-minister of climate change, Maher Al Kaabi, I said the world will not explode. Nothing going to happen. We want to preserve the environment, period. We want to do it because we believe that's the right thing to do. If you go back in 60s and you lived over here all your life, His Highness late Sheikh Zayed used to plant trees in 60s and 70s and 80s, and people used to tell him, why are you planting trees in the desert? He's saying, this is the environment, I'd like to take care of it. I'm actually giving a tomorrow speech, keynote on sustainability in another forum, and I'm going to be bringing this example as pictures. So you'll be intrigued how the country has been working on sustainability much before the SDG starts even.
Speaking of which, Mr. Sam tapped into also the talents. Do you think as a generation, we're all almost the same generation, is it actually difficult to work with these talents that are upcoming when it comes to all formats of technology? Because again, we don't understand them much because they're fast and they want, you know, and they speak that language. So how do we actually, because we would consider our generation maybe more of mentors, but we need to also understand this generation when we're putting them into the sustainable world, into the tech world.
It's about how you unite. You know, I tell my kids, for example, I'm starting backwards to answer the question. I tell my kids, I don't want you to be good at school. They're 14 and 15. My son is becoming 16. I don't want them to be good at school. Just get through. Be a little bit above the middle. And then teachers tell me, why? Your kids are so smart, they should. I said, they should nothing. And dare you give them pressure, I will change the school. And then they ask me why. I said, I want them to have enough time to learn other skills. Because the skills which are required now are based on jobs. They haven't even been invented as we speak. So, and the school system is by far not ready to educate those next generation, where I would say over 90% is a lost generation because the parents are not seeing the direction. They have to empower them. Schooling is an old school system which is going to die out in universities as we know it. In 2 to 3 years, going to be gone. Or not anymore existing in the way we know it. So the Cambridge, Gucci University of this world is not going to happen anymore. So and then the universities are coming to hunt the students. And I told them, I'm not attending any conference of that. I don't even go to parents' schooling because it's not interesting. So to answer you, there's a difference between smart kids, entrepreneurial kids, and the wise people like when Maher sits on a board, Kaabi sits on a board, and I always tell the young startups, be smart, but have a wise leadership. Because the principle of business is never changing. It's only the method of how we're going to action business. It's going to having a dynamic movement, which is in a speed time now, difficult to follow up if you're not continually already extend your knowledge. Because this is the only thing which can't be taken away with the push of a button. We need to realize it. Once you learn something, not going to be taken away. Once you rely on this one, then you have an issue. That means, what is the secret? It's a combination of HI, with AI to become the PI. What does the HI mean? Human intelligence plus artificial intelligence becomes the perfect intelligence. If you rely on AI, you become a victim of the double AI. What does this mean? Automated artificial intelligence. Then you are only a consumer or victim or whatever you're going to define yourself. So be the PI guy, and that is where it's going to drive you forwards. A perfect, intelligent performance.
I think I sit on the board, as I told you, chair of the board of schools, and I go and speak to a lot of universities, locally and regionally, internationally. Unfortunately, it's not what we think the young generation is. A lot of us think that they're going to come and change the world. I still see it 50-50. 50, yes, probably are progressing, but the other 50 are completely complacent. They don't understand what's happening. Me and Sam, do the same thing with our children. Please understand what you're learning and how you're going to apply them. That's more important for you to get an A. Although they're all A graders, and I told them that's not important for me. That is for you to get a good university. But unfortunately, you need to understand, if you look at all the industries globally have really made strides above and have advanced, except education system.
Yeah, so true.
There is a reason behind it. Yeah, this is reason behind it. It's not happened by fluke or luck. This is the only system that is still backward today. And that's why in our schools, we try to change few things. We work with the Ministry of Education, we're introducing few programs. There are 6 things I want to introduce into schools. Like if you look at the studies done by KPMG, they say like in another 15 years, 40% of university graduates will become entrepreneurs. Are we teaching them entrepreneurial skills in the schools? We're not. So 60,
we didn't even have anyone to mentor us when we started business.
60% will be doing jobs which we don't know what will be the job of the future. Are we even skilling them for that? No. So that's the challenge we have today. So one of the things we want to teach them on is how you become an entrepreneur mindset. Now, entrepreneur does not necessarily mean you go and open up a business. Entrepreneur is a mindset. While you're working, you become entrepreneur of how can you change. Now, we all get scared with the word of innovation. You know what innovation stands for? Change. That's it, simple. Yeah. It's not difficult to do these kind of things.
Mr. Qasim.
This is exactly the case, because if you look at the traditional banking I started in 1987 is completely different what we have today. And banks will become fintechnology companies, and fintechnology companies will become banks. And when we hire people in banks, we look first what is his technical background in skills and software and IT. For me, it is not interested how much he knows about bonds and stocks. This is something which should be a standard now. And here we're going more and more. And to come back to the world digital economic system, it will enhance so dramatically. And also this event outside all these exhibition stands show us where we will go and where we will end up in less than a couple of years.
Thank you so much. I'm going to open the floor for some questions, if there are any, because I think we still have 2 minutes. Are there any questions, or we can continue chatting?
All the difficult questions to these 2 gentlemen.
Yes, of course. So one more thing, I have seen also universities introducing sustainable courses. I have seen, especially Western Australia, they were there at COP28, introducing energy courses. What do you have to say about that? I mean, do you think this is a necessity, or again, we go back to the same debate?
I launched for the government the World Future Energy Summit, the Zayed Future Energy Prize, the global summit of megatrends, a lot of projects. And we are talking 15, 16 years back, where we started initiatives. Masdar, all of these projects, we took care of them. And I learned one thing. These guys in this country, in the leadership, they started the mindset in 15, 16 years ago. We need to understand what's happening. In these current times of which we are facing, everybody knows that the time is running so fast. I'm sure everybody agrees. We have per year an equal change of 8 years, anything before 2010. So that means if you say the last 5 years what happened, that is an equal change of 40 years of movement of technology and so on. So the topic sustainability is not just being born at COP28. They just actually reminded people where the journey is going to. So the initiatives have been placed here are almost second to none within the world comparison. And then the gender equality, where I don't like to use it women empowerment, because women don't need to be empowered, but the involvement of women being in leadership of business, ADNOC, 38% are females are in a leadership position. That is almost 63% more than any other fossil-run company in the world globally. So, and then they try to question it. So What we need to do is mainstreaming the right direction to adopt actually market, inventors, innovators, whatever you want to name them, to find an access point so they can locate themselves. Because sustainability is so far in boardrooms, regulations, and in some kind of big events. But it's not in the community involvement. And this is what we're personally working on. We're going to launch one big project with the government of Abu Dhabi after summer, where we actually go onto the communities and explain what is health, what is sustainability, and how digitization going to have an influence into it. We can't talk more about it, but it's coming big. But the government is pushing for it. And that is what we need. If the leadership doesn't take care of it, then everybody is being left behind. And you can't do it, and not in these days. And that is why it is sad to see what's happening in other countries around the world.
Thank you so much for the information.
I have one question to the audience. How many of you are teaching your children on sustainability and environment preservation? With a show of hands. 1, 2. I'm not staggered. Not many, right? I do that in a lot of platforms where there are 100 people available per year. And I do it not in a technology platform, in an environmental sustainability platform. I'm going to do that tomorrow when I'm doing the keynotes. Similar percentages, 1 or 2% really raise their hands. So when you want to do sustainability, start from home. Start teaching your children about sustainability and why environment is very, very important, which is exactly our forefather has done. As I mentioned, late Sheikh Zayed done that thing in preserving the environment. The government will come. So don't push things, make it natural. Then things will happen. Government can do certain things, but we need to make sure that we as a private sector play a role, we as parents play a role to make that this transition happen very, very quickly.
But parents need to understand it also. Many parents don't understand that.
That's one of the things I'm trying to create in the metaverse now. I suffer now. When I tell my principals of schools, you need to do these things, the moment we take off the homework, we have parents complaining to the principals. I said, why? Because we need homework. I said, why do you need homework? So we're trying to create something on a metaverse where we can send a snippet to the parents who are really busy working and so forth, so they can understand why we're doing what we're doing, so we can make sure all the triangle is met. The school, the children, and also the parents. And of course, put it on the blockchain and so forth, and digital twin.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, we can still add something if you want to know. It's a very interesting topic, to be very honest.
Maher, we eat 80% from our garden. We plant our own food.
We plant our own food at home. That's the best thing for you guys to do. We
one.
both plant our food at home.
Just a quick one. If someone wants to study like myself about all of that and just open up, is there a place?
Absolutely. Government, I mean, UAE and Dubai is very forefront in every single thing you can think of today. We've got academy established where people can go and learn. If you look, as I told you, go to the website and see what other Dubai Lab, Future Lab is there as well to teach you. The accelerator programs are there. There are many other courses that are available. We're blessed that a lot of people are coming in and getting set up over here to offer the consultancy and also training services and also start businesses over here.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. It was lovely meeting you all. Thank you so much.